Oh, Lord of mercy.
So call the meeting back into, oh, wait, good. We'll end our recess and call our meeting back into order at 1:30. So we were on,
Can we recap where we're at real quick?
yeah, let's recap.
Okay, correction officers, we have at 2350, we did a 1% on the horizontal increase to the 10-year mark. The difference between a corrections officer and a jail sergeant, we have at a 118.73%, excuse me, with a 1% horizontal to the 10-year mark. Right now, we were getting ready to look at jail lieutenants, I believe was the next thing. I had to put it up in there. You see jail lieutenants? I thought I had it grouped, so I could group it up.
You removed the group.
I moved the group on Saturday.
Yeah, you did.
So let's go to jail lieutenants so we can group up and compare them which way we want those to go, and then we're gonna go back to patrol. Yes, we do. I'm about to get excited, ain't I? Cover all this stuff up.
And just, so I don't forget it, when
Jail sergeant?
we wrap up today, can you give us this spreadsheet?
Yes.
And then I'll look at it more in depth on
It'll be,
Thursday before we, have we agreed on Friday if our schedules are good?
I'll have to look at mine, but I think I'm gonna have to make it good.
While you're playing with your Excel sheet there, I'll make a motion that we will meet on Friday at a good time.
I was like 8 a.m. Well, I shouldn't come earlier. I'm an early person, so I can be here. 8's fine. About 6:30.
I won't be here, but y'all can,
Let me look at my calendar and make sure I didn't schedule
I won't
anything.
I'll be in court, so I won't be back till around noon or so. So, but I send Steve down
So
here.
the motion is that at the end of this meeting, we'll say it now in case we forget, or we don't get to it at the end, that we will recess at the end of this meeting and reconvene Friday morning at 8 a.m. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Okay. Jail lieutenant, we have, when we started on it, we've got 120%. I think we was only the 1% across the 10 years, and we'll see how that looks. Should get you that consistency that we want to see. And then we'll get rid of step 11 again, because we'll pretty the sheet that one together. Yeah, I'm not used to this like that. It's a little different, ain't it?
You guys don't have a laptop in finance to move around?
Yeah, no, it's got an
Yes, you
actual
do.
keypad. They're all different.
Is yours not good enough? I mean, do you need a better one? We'll have a
This is
side
the one from
conversation.
IT we're not used to.
Okay.
We don't use them much because they don't powerful enough to do.
Well,
a
if
whole
yours is
lot.
better, I'm just wondering why you check this one out of the pool.
Make sure because it probably hasn't been updated in a while. Okay, so right here, we're down to jail lieutenants, and it has 120% rise. Kind of compared to existing, it's quite a significant increase with a 1% rise for your lieutenants. I don't even think there's one that's below the start pay for that lieutenant, much less that. Well, I think we may want to look at that rise there and see if that's, right now, I think the 1% makes sense. The only question is, and Eric's kind of knows a lot about this, he kind of knows the duties. What's a reasonable rise between the sergeant and lieutenant in the jail as far as duties? We don't really have nobody to compare like Gallatin. We can go look at like another county if you want to see where.
Yeah, let's look at, what's the other one that had really good data, Rutherford?
Yeah, Rutherford.
And then, speaking of that, I want to go back to our citizen that spoke. He said he came from the Trousdale. Do they have a federal prison? Is that what they got over there? Or do they have a county?
Charles O. Turner is a private company that does
It's a
government
private,
contracts.
that's why I'm not Okay, so what is that, what do they pay? Because that seems like that is a competitor of yours, and you've stolen this gentleman.
Pretty, they
So-
pay more than we do.
So that's not a place that we went to and obtained salaries,
No.
because that is our,
They're private, they're not a government agency.
That's.
but they could hire your, do they hire your people? You've hired their people.
Which one, the prison?
The travel Turner. Sometimes they hire ours. I don't wanna talk bad about somebody that's not here to defend themselves.
Yeah.
But it's not a good work environment.
It's a
So it's not a worrying,
It's a high security prison. It's different than your jail.
I understand.
You'd much rather work in there.
Once upon a
Not to say anything
time.
bad, it's just the way it is. It's very high
Understand.
security, if you can imagine.
Oh, I got to go to all
Wouldn't
the
be
prisons in
comparable.
Tennessee one year.
Wouldn't be.
State
comparable.
decided I could do that.
Well,
It was-
here's
I
the
was-
things, we're
I
not
quit working
sure
for
if
'em.
Rutherford's doing the thing where you move across or not, but either way, we're seeing a difference between those. We're seeing a difference there between a 1-to-1 year of 32%, so we think the 118 is probably pretty reasonable. The spread, we think that they may be doing some of the move back, may or may not, but if we're doing the straight move forward, it's probably pretty reasonable. And comparing it to existing, you should be able to some of the.
You know, and we're stepping into this. I really wish I had more time to absorb and understand, like, how long our jailers.
The two things that we're running into, and this is your two biggest unknowns, and like Annette, she was at the schools. There, unless I'm mistaken, it's a number of years in the position, correct? Like that. So if you're in the school for 15 years and they moved you to, like your teacher to a principal, then you're a 1-year principal on the scale. That's what she.
That wasn't my level.
And several of the counties do that, but we don't know which ones are doing which.
I understand.
We can look at their data, we've asked them, they're not clear, I'm not sure why they're not clear, but this one may be doing that or may not, but Rutherford's one of your more conservative scales, so, and we could compare another data group if you wanna look at them, but Rutherford's 133, we've got 118 in there, it looks plausible to me. It was there, so it's probably 20% raised to get somebody to wanna do that.
I mean, the point there at the 2790 is supported. It's just again, it's a big carry.
And then this one is 120 for the 33, so I think it's kind of the same thing. You're doing the 1%, and one we think's, it's the same thing with the lieutenants, I think, but you've got to think, if you're a jailer and you're not trying to go to patrols and you want to stay in the jail, you've only got two things, move up in years of service or move to a lieutenant or sergeant.
So when I look between their pay right now, what have I got there? 3, 6, 6.
Well, 33.49 compared to,
How much is that annually?
this was 33 to 28, so 5.
33.49.
Yeah. What's my annual bump there between the sergeant and the lieutenant?
38.40. What's the sergeant?
I guess 20%, huh?
Yeah, but no, she wants to know how much the annual is from 35.55 to 28.69.
Yeah, that one.
$14.92.
It's a big lift.
Says, well, I'm saying they've got 1-year lieutenants, I'm a bit fuzzy on how they have 1-year lieutenants if they don't do the reset like we're talking about too. That's what's making me, I don't know, that's where we're running into stuff.
I mean, with these heavy lifts,
What does that put our numbers at, right? You just plugged in that for the jail lieutenants, correct?
2.8 million.
Okay. So,
That's because we pulled those 10-year above off.
right, so it doesn't,
Why don't we get done with all of it and kind of guess it and then
Yes.
go back and figure between the layers?
mhm.
That may be the quickest way to do it, because if we sit here and look at them this way, that's a good point. If we go to the steps here and we get these verticals and
Let's
horizontals.
do that.
And get everybody where we want them, then we can kind of.
But I still feel good about that 10-year.
I think that
so.
actually looks
think
I
we
really
should
feel,
get some
I really
steps.
feel good about that. I feel like that's one of the better things we've.
I think the whole thing right here looks good, with the jailer down to the lieutenants, down to the, I know it's a big change, but I think it looks good. And if we average them out with these, they're not way above market unless the services are off, but they still wouldn't be. Look at.
It would seem more, because those seem like big jumps.
I
I think 20% is a big jump.
Montgomery looks pretty, see, that's what we, see how
So
big Montgomery
this
is
is more
compared
your
to Rutherford?
wheelhouse, 20% jump.
Well, that came based off the recommended, right? That's the market drove that number.
Well, at the 120 though, is that not our vertical jump?
Where are you pointing
Yes.
at?
Right under where you're at, that,
From the
Yes.
27.
yeah, that's the vertical jump.
Well, these are the vertical and these are the horizontal here.
Right, but the number 3349 came from your recommendation based off of the market, right? All the data we got.
Lieutenants, let's look and see, make sure I'm telling you correctly.
I think it's above what the recommended was.
Oh, it's above?
Well, let's go
Or
back and see
below.
again. We went through a few numbers.
Yeah.
Well, either way, we can look at it real quick. Lieutenant jail, 3471, and we went with a little lower number. We went with
349.
349. And the only thing we're not sure about is how they're doing years of service. I mean, otherwise,
So that puts it right on par with your recommendation and the 1%, I think.
yeah, I think between, plus anything, if they're even doing the step back, what we're doing is really bumping people at the very beginning and then shrinking the 1% in the jail there. I don't see shrinking. It's like that, I would personally rather see this number up and have these lower myself to get the front end if possible. Is what I'm looking, it's gonna help you the most, is my opinion. So now we've got everything except for, I think, what was it, captains in the jail? So we've got everything else except for like the cafeteria workers. I think we need to leave those alone for now. They can be visited. There are two of them. They're not significant. They weren't even in the study. So I think we need to go back to patrols and then start getting your outliers. So let's unhide everything.
Captains.
Well, the captains are going to line up the patrols if we're going to do the same on them.
Yeah, I think all 4 captains should be in the same.
But they're all, but there's some in patrols and some in jail, correct?
Right.
So we probably want to line those vertically with the patrols is what I would think,
Yeah.
not the jail. That's why I didn't think we need to look at them right now. I think we're just going to skew it. Or spend a lot of time on this there until we see them all together. Then it hides everything. I hate that. Why is it not unhide everything? Am I losing my mind? We're unhiding it.
You might have to just have your,
Got hit everything. We put that in there that was confused. Now we're starting with deputies. We don't do correction officers. School resource officers, I think, we did those at the same, did we not? We did those at just a flat conversion for number of hours, because you wanted those the same, so those are handled. So get rid of all this crap. We're not gonna deal with it. Okay. Then we go down to court officers, uncertified. Got that with this linking where your people are at, because that's one you're gonna get rid of, so. After 10, we don't even wanna deal with it, because it's making the same salary anyway. After 10.
When we budgeted in the courtroom security, I know we went ahead and budgeted in additional ones for the new courthouse. Did you budget those in for 6 months, starting in January, or did you
No,
give
we
them?
budgeted the whole year.
You budget the whole year, so we've got that money floating around that we
And
haven't.
then on this.
Have you hired them yet?
Yes, we have, because it takes a while to train them. You know,
To
they have
train them,
They have to
yeah.
be ready to go when the courthouse opens, not hide that day.
Your new SROs are there too. Because if we're gonna change their start rate, they're gonna be affected by this too, so they're in there too. We picked those guys up. So we're down to court offices, so that one we're fine with. Certified should be, the same deal, it should be that conversion formula. So we should be done with those guys. So we're down to sergeants again in patrols this time. Let's go back across. And I think we can just hide everything down to sergeants, because that's our next group. Let's go grab them down here, all the way to sergeants. Tell me when you see sergeants. The jail sergeant, sergeant, there it is. jail sergeant for patrols. It's 124% jump. Excuse me, 2%. Everybody comfortable with that? We're gonna get rid of past. Everybody fairly comfortable with that change right there, the sergeants? Or then we'll go on to lieutenants.
So patrol, maybe when we're all done and we can walk through them all at once.
Okay.
But I'm not ready to say I'm 100%. I see what you're saying and I'm willing to continue on.
Yeah,
But I'd
let's
like to
just-
see them all together at some point.
We'll get the
Not
caption.
today, I don't see it happening today, but
Well, we can try to get them, see if we agree with everything. But then we'll try to create something a little more final for, you know, those numbers, lieutenant, jail, lieutenant, deputy right there. What is that? Go back. Okay, here is what we've got for your lieutenants. See, that's the one, we're only showing the 5% increase for a lieutenant. And that's based on that comparison sheet, so we need to look at your lieutenants really closely. That's because we kicked up these other ones to be marketable.
It's clear.
Can I get the wrong one? Lieutenant, it's right there. 34. 23.90. Oh, that's one because we don't know about the exemption difference neither. But still, either way, there should be. So between a sergeant and lieutenant, how much additional duties to this?
Fairly significant.
Significant? Let's see what Gallatin just does at those for, give us an idea here. So that's Gallatin on the lieutenants. There's Gallatin patrol officers up here. Is that a 1 year ago? What's that? To a patrol officer is 18% is what it looks like. Since we kind of based it on their start pay. 18.16%. Does that look pretty reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try that then for now. We were at 118.16 plus. Well, what did I go on? I lost myself. Plus, the screen's killing me. That times 1.18, what was it? 18, what was it? Was it 1.6? Copy across. It'll make it 2 all the way across. Get past that step. So your highest lieutenant will be 35.65. So it's probably pretty reasonable, because if you look, that one we get. Yeah. Says your lieutenants are in market though, I think. Does that sound right? Do we
Yes.
have any turnover in lieutenants?
According to the calculation, the step 10 for the lieutenant would be the 3656. I'm reading the old one.
10 year, yeah, and yours
Okay.
is 37.77 over there, and past it, and 30.59 for a new one, and it's up there to, whoa, that's wrong. What's that clicking on? Oh. Well,
You
calculate
on
it
the
off.
sergeant, right?
You calculate it off of
Deputy.
the deputy, but I did on Gallatin too. That don't make any sense.
Yeah, because that's less.
Let's look at, yeah, let's look at Gallatin sergeant again. Where is Gallatin at for their sergeant increase? So, let's figure out what this.
so yeah, that 3656 is right on the money for where we're at.
Yeah, that ain't right, because there's an issue. So if we look at Gallatin's lieutenant, right there, correct?
Sergeant.
Where's the lieutenant at, right here? City of Gallatin, right? And we divide that by their patrol officer. 118, okay, how?
Math.
No, but there's no way that is. Where's the Gallatin? 31.42, what's the lieutenant? What's the same
Can you
one?
restate the problem?
No, 3142.
Because we used a different amount. So there should be 118.5. What's the difference between their lieutenant and their sergeant? Where's Gallatin at? Gallatin, that's their lieutenant's right here, right? Divided by their sergeant. See how much difference it is. Sergeant right there. That can't be right.
40 cents.
Well, there's only 2% difference between those. It can't be right.
Telling you, they made a conscious decision.
Yeah, but nobody's gonna wanna be a lieutenant versus a sergeant.
They're lower than anybody else too.
It could be that they just haven't, they sometimes have.
When questionable, you know, they gave us a new step scale in the middle of this, so best thing for us to do first right now is let's go back and double check.
I've
the step
seen
scale.
their salary scales change in the past. I've been at the city meetings, and they made adjustments. And they just may need to work through some time to make an adjustment.
32 police lieutenant, right? 32 point, good lord, there's no difference. 31, 432 to 32. What have we got an old scale on there? Not be updated. 3220. So what's up here? That one's correct.
42.
Something's not.
How do they look going across?
Well, they did 2%, because they should, I don't know. what
I mean, if it's not, that would tell us what, maybe a key.
Well, mine is, it looks like up and down. Ours is right, but it's not.
Do they have a difference in lieutenant and sergeant, like perhaps maybe one takes home a car and one doesn't? Or I'm just saying, there could be things we're not seeing, so we don't need to fit the circle into a square.
No, I mean, it ain't gonna fit, because right now.
There may be,
They're basically making the same for their sergeants and lieutenants.
from what we can see, but I would
30.
suggest that maybe there's something we don't see.
I was gonna say, that's for their step one.
Yeah,
Right, but I'm saying still, if you're a lieutenant, ain't gonna have no real difference. If you're let's find one of our lieutenants for a 1-year lieutenant, okay? Well, that's that new one, let's say. we
is
got
it
a
possible they take
10-year
home cars?
Gallatin, they do take them.
Everybody takes home a car, so it isn't a,
Unless they live outside their
That's
restriction.
it for,
what is the restriction?
County that touches Sumner.
It's a long ways. I mean, that's a lot of mileage.
they're only.
Could live on the other side of Robertson, that's a lot of mileage.
They got a $1.75 difference between their lieutenant at 10 years to a 10-year sergeant. So if you're doing a mark to mark, which that's fine, but you're only gonna receive $4,000 to become a lieutenant. Here, you're gonna receive what?
So let's don't
That's
dog
what I'm
them for
saying.
us being more competitive.
No, I'm just trying to figure out why though, before we. 78 cents an hour, that's. Okay, so we gotta, I don't think we can use theirs that way, it makes sense out of anything. No, I'm not trying to dog them, I'm just trying to figure out. what
No,
makes
the
sense.
situation, I mean, we're more competitive for some reason in that
Well,
category.
Yeah, and theirs is like low as a sergeant, there's no promotion there, that's what I'm saying.
Maybe they didn't take 100 hours to analyze it. Just saying.
Right, but you're probably right, we probably spent a long time over that. So what do we think is a reasonable, we think it's 118% of the sergeant, let's look and see what that looks like. So if we take that and remap it to the sergeant, I get to do it. Where's the sergeant at? There. Did I hit the wrong one? Captain Sergeant. Well, I was using Gallatin Sergeant, yeah, because that's the one, well, no, we need to use our sergeant, no.
Yeah.
You're correct. I was using Gallatin's comparison, but I definitely need to use it a little more.
Or we're gonna do the recommend.
I recommend it, which is higher than Gallatin's. Does that make sense?
It's more than our current step 11.
They don't have a step 11 anymore.
It's more than our current person in step 11.
start pay is?
Yes.
Which, I mean, that may be okay if it's way off, but we need to figure out what we're looking at here. I mean, we don't necessarily mean it's wrong, but, so this step 16 person over here, which is our highest, is 37,
16 is
53.
less than 11.
What are you making now? Well, that's what you're saying, trying to tell me.
The
16.
person in step 11 makes more than the person in step 16.
Oh, I don't know. I would round it by 20 cents.
And
high.
that's the lieutenant deputy, Winston.
That's probably a difference between 8.4 and 8.5.
They're all very close to this.
Because I think these were taken from the
There's not
budget,
quite.
she's almost still 85.
No, it's right here. And
Okay.
they're all exactly, well, all but the same. Is there another category that we have a lieutenant deputy? Do we have
You
one from
said
an
some of
SRO?
them may be 8.4, yeah, there's that sort of.
But that's
Yeah,
not
so,
looking
but they're
at-
all the same, exactly the same.
But if they're 8.4 hours a day versus 8.5.
Oh, that's gonna
it'd be
do
an
it.
hourly rate.
Got it.
I don't know. Gallons makes no sense to me. I don't know, that's what's throwing me now, because thought we had to get a marker, and then between their sergeants and, yeah, this is what's throwing me, Eric. This right here, don't make a lot of sense.
Is that the one
I'm
that was?
sorry, not these two.
Because they have,
Because it's too many years.
See that? They're like so close.
Yeah.
and I have, let's see.
They're not like right on, but they're
Here
not
I've got
much like
lieutenant
1, 2,
deputy, like you
5%
didn't
difference
even
maybe.
7.
Not much.
That one, his salary's way
Yeah, but is it
And
that
we used their
much to make? that
sergeant
big
mark to boot our
difference?
sergeants up.
Well, who's
so-
the, this is the outlier, the one that's the oldest.
less. No, because
I mean,
it's
it's-
too far back. We're not
You think
back
the
that
sergeants
far.
are too high?
So,
It was 60.
You think our sergeants are too high, or do you think that's
So it's 16
plausible
years?
where we're at?
I think it's plausible.
10, like right in
Let's look
here.
at this compared to other lieutenants from other counties.
Yeah.
So if that's 38, we're 35, here's 34, 36, Wilson's 39, I don't know how they're doing. And how we patrol. And I don't know anything about them other than we found that online, so we gave up. But
I think 38's high.
it would make you, other than Wilson, the highest by far.
Yeah, and
How's our sergeants look? This is our sergeants. 32. That same deal, we were the highest except for,
see, and,
yeah, we're actually the highest on sergeants, so I think that may be a little bit high.
yeah,
See what I'm saying there? That's all the other sergeants that do here.
and that's what makes this vertical look, again,
Right.
difficult.
So all we've done here is reduce the compression, our compression.
And got your start pay up too,
Yeah.
and on the bottom of all
Exactly.
ends and trying
So,
to.
to me, right now, we are going through the entire process where somebody else just went through the
They
first
just
third
kind
of
of
it.
screw with it.
Right.
I think the thing we got right now is we need to bring this down, because I think your patrol officers are good. I think your sergeant, because we've kicked up patrols, the vertical changes a little too much. Because if you look, we'll be the highest one in market by far. So I think we may even look at like a 115 or a 110.
Well, right, but I'd rather do this right on the front end, do it right now, than have this same conversation.
Right, but I'm just thinking it's higher.
I would rather walk into more
It's higher than
later.
everybody's, what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? They're the highest ones, the sergeants are. That's why I think we ended up.
How did we
42.
get to the 32? Was
Well,
that when
now-
we were smoothing it? Because it wasn't the, oh, because we walked back from where we're at 36.
Right, we just walked backwards and we think it's probably, I mean, it's,
We did.
we moved it around so much. Yeah, that would be way above the average. The average would be, comparison for what, sergeant SO?
Yeah, what is that?
Was it up or down, does anybody remember? Sergeant's SO. And that's what I grabbed up to there. That's a 4-year mark, that's why. Okay, we have got it off a little bit. 3251 was what we thought should be there if we did an average.
3221 was Gallatin, wasn't
The Gallatin. But then they did no change between them and their lieutenants. Is what they've done. So they're like the high, where's Gallatin at up there? Oh, Gallatin's 3142. What we got there?
That was with the, you do it with the.
If we were to match that at 3142, what is our vertical?
3142 is Gallatin sergeant. Well, no. Yeah, Gallatin 3140. I don't know where we got that from. Now that's high.
That's high. So what if we were to match them at the 3142? How would our vertical percentage be?
Probably look pretty decent because
Would that make
they're
our
pretty
whole
much an
vertical better?
average. I mean, people would probably do. Yeah, it would look a lot better. Now, how does it look for your existing people? How would they come out? Well, that one would be, he's 36 into 37.
Yeah.
36.
Gallton's already higher.
He's higher, and he's higher though. So that's what I'm not getting. What's
Well, I think it's because in our roll 93, that it's 3604, 3611, and 3628.
well,
There's
except for
nothing,
Robertson. Yeah, Robertson's the outlier.
there's no spread in our employees. Not really.
That's an average of 2985, and that includes us. So one, that don't include us. And then the highest ones here is 3162. We have 3142. There's nothing in that, so it's the average of all of them. Not account for retirement or anything. The average is 3056. And then your Gallatin puts us competitive with Gallatin. And then we can look about the lieutenant thing and put your lieutenants more down in. They put them way above Gallatin, but we've got to do some kind of spread or you might want to be a lieutenant, I would think. At least I wouldn't want all that extra duty for them.
Didn't we already go through the sergeants?
Yeah.
Why? And what's
So
the
then
reason
we
we're
came back
on?
to look at the vertical,
Because we're looking at the vertical and if
to make sure it made sense that
Way off
they
of
weren't gonna
the-
get a promotion and make less money. We wanted to make sure that that promotion,
Right. So
so that's why we're back.
we're talking the promotion between sergeant and lieutenant.
Well, between here to here and sergeant lieutenant.
And that's when this, numbers, popped out that it's,
Other than who, Wilson? Who was that, Robertson? See, Wilson's the highest now, 3182. Gallatin, this would be the same. Montgomery would be much lower. And I think on your sergeants, it's something too. Yeah, we pay more average on sergeants. Other than Montgomery, and Gallatin apparently does the same, so we were told. Appears to be the same. That would bring your sergeant and the Gallatin sergeant to pretty much, actually ours would do better. Because of the 5% retirement, we would do better.
If they're at the 3251?
What do you want me at? This is for 4 years, and 3251.
Right.
You didn't have, so for step 4, as long as step 4 does better than 3251, which it does. Then
Right.
so you're better than average before
Yeah.
what we got you at right now. And if you look at Gallatin, starting at 3142, you're actually 5% better off because you pay them.
Right.
So I think that's probably a good drop there.
Yeah.
And then now we just gotta figure out what to do with your lieutenants, because I'm not sure Gallatin's lieutenant deal, I'm confused about it, I'm not sure. Cause you're not gonna, so when we start averaging, let's see what yours looks like now. It looks a little better. The average is 35. That one's 39 for Wilson. Other than Wilson, you have the highest lieutenants. And then you'll flip around with Robertson somewhere, because Robertson has this 4% climbs everywhere. So what does everybody think about the lieutenants? Myself, how would you feel about it if we made the difference every 115 between a sergeant and lieutenant for a climb? You get a 15% raise for a sergeant and lieutenant.
Can I see what that
that's
looks
really,
That's just kind of what
I mean, that's a really
Where's your
decent.
sergeant at? decent, I mean, all your lieutenants are actually making less than that now. That one is, don't we have more lieutenants than that? They put me in the jail.
I got 7 on this list.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But you're higher.
Are they more than 20
They
years?
have- Yes.
Yeah.
Got 37, 53, and that's 39. And then the back out here, but I doubt any of them makes more than 39 anyway. I don't think we got a lieutenant making that
They're all
much.
budgeted
They're
pretty
all,
much the same.
they're all budgeted the same.
Oh, okay. So your
Almost
20-year
exactly
people
the
would
same.
get, also, where'd I get 39? Don't like that.
Yeah.
That's us there, you know, Gallatin, they take that color off. We were doing that because we were trying to figure out why they have that weird pay that's pretty much the same.
I think a 15% step is overly generous. I mean,
We'll just keep going, look at the numbers.
look at the numbers at the
Because
end.
we still gotta get majors all
Let's
the
go,
way
yeah.
up to the, so let's go into major.
There's just one.
We got one major.
I mean, it's generous enough that we
Been there
shouldn't bleed
20 years.
anybody.
I've been there a long time.
How, do we even show our major, how much it makes?
It's
Maybe.
probably in the known.
Yeah, yeah, 4136, and he's, good Lord, 82, he would double pay. That's not saying that's incorrect, so let's see, these are your majors in the counties.
And is major is it
Word.
major all the same?
What's highway patrol, I'm sorry, I recommended in there.
Yeah, he is. It was under his.
Oh, was it? Okay, that's where we have.
Yeah,
See if it makes sense, because we may want to go back and work the whole table. I think we just tried to figure out what made sense.
And we're comparing, we don't know what their major is,
I
right?
think what we said, he works 85, Rutherford works 80, so we did a conversion hours on Rutherford, I think. And I can go show you what we came up with that.
So my major is over,
Hey, it sounds like he's underpaid.
Can I step out of the room? My grandfather's calling.
oh, please
Not a
do.
good-
We won't talk badly about you.
It's being recorded.
So
This is the guy that's worked there a long time, got a lot of responsibilities.
he's the major,
He's over the detectives.
It looks like he's.
and he's over the detectives.
Probably underpaid.
How did this?
Everything okay?
No, I gotta go.
Okay.
I'll be back.
I think as far as,
No, we'll just wait.
no,
Okay, I'll go.
I don't think we want to go very far without
I think we
input
can-
from the sheriff's office.
I think that's kind of where we're at.
I say you leave that one alone unless the sheriff pushes back, because if there's just one guy, that's what he's been making.
Well, he's making 4136.
But
If we
why?
take Rutherford, it's
Right.
50.
Who is
Well, the
it?
thing is, here's what I'm looking at,
I-
Mr. Bailey.
yeah.
He's making 4136, and if we go back to a one-year person,
Yeah.
he's
He's
way
way
down.
back.
Since we're going,
Okay.
how about this, how do you feel about this?
You know, I was reading
Why
this
don't we get-
earlier. I thought it said mayor. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, that's what I'm looking. Why don't, can we just take the average of the 10-year, well, it's more.
That bottom one is highway patrol.
so
Oh, I didn't read that
the
out.
major is
Isn't it? I mean, double
over.
check before you delete, but.
I wish we
Yeah.
had an org chart.
That's
That has been the
Wilson.
talk lately, hasn't it?
Oh, you already
Wilson,
deleted out the highway patrol.
yeah, Wilson County's like off the chart compared to everybody
Well, this
else.
is where I'd be curious.
So-
And they're smaller, I don't get it, but I mean, I'm not.
Chief Craddock, like, how was a major determined? Like, does Wilson County determine a major the same way?
Because there's some reason
Is the
that
major
our
different?
major is
What-
making $41 an hour, which seems,
Especially as long as he's been there. Because if you go up and look at lieutenant.
he's
and
been there
he's
since
making what?
1995.
He's making
Who
42.
has the major?
The
A
major.
10-year
Why don't
lieutenant's
we-
43.
Why don't, my thought is, what do you think about this? We went from 120 to 115 for horizontal, why don't we do 110% and see how it looks of the lieutenants and cut it off at year 10 and see how he looks? Because I think, yeah, he's probably underpaid, but I'm not sure how much by looking.
Well, there must be some reason they have him there. I mean, not him, but
Yeah,
that position. It must,
that-
maybe and it could be that
It may be.
You
I
know,
don't
there's
know.
there's a lot to be said about your,
Where's your chief?
responsibility and how many people are under you. So
Right.
perhaps their majors, they have two majors and they share the money and they share the responsibility.
Well,
I
there
mean,
may be,
there's-
their major may be a chief deputy. Well, when I'm looking, they need to reckon, Wilson pays more than what a chief deputy would make.
It's just hard without
That's
an
what I'm saying.
organization
Okay.
chart to see what the
Chief
responsibilities are.
Huh?
Chief deputies in that group that you get.
Let's think group chief deputy, make sure Wilson's got one, but they don't actually call the chief deputy that. That's
And
kinda
again,
my-
I don't think we should go too far into our discussion without,
Well, we can
Yeah.
explore that until we get
Yeah.
there with him.
I think so.
I mean, right now, we need to kind of, there's no need for us to not do anything while he's, where's your chief deputy at?
Keep going.
Make sure that Wilson has a chief deputy. Some doesn't have chief deputies.
There's something still given.
There it was.
Go back down. Go back.
Did you say?
Right.
Right there,
Well, it said
after 108,
plus. It's a
something's
plus.
missing.
Oh, okay,
But if
Here it
they've
is.
created two positions and split the
So this
duties,
is
that
what
would
I've got.
definitely,
Look at your pay for your chief deputy and your major. Your major, okay, chief deputy 72 for a maxed out, okay? Let's see what your chief deputy looks like. There he is. Let's see, everybody try to remember that. Where's your major up around? You might remember, we move around so much.
I feel
Down.
like it's been.
There you go. What I'm looking at.
How much was
A little less.
That 15 was like
72.
70.
Yeah.
but again, judging without an org
Captions
chart,
it.
without knowing their responsibilities, and the chief, he can say, but he doesn't know what they're doing over there.
Right.
And just to be blunt, we're here to stop the bleed, and there is no bleed in a 20-year employee category.
It's just, yeah, major time.
Why don't we, as I'm saying, why don't we right now until Eric gets back, do 110% off of the lieutenant, do it to 10 years and see where he drops that. Because right now, there's no rhyme or reason what I got in there anyway. I
But
just
there's no
basically
rhyme or
took-
reason in doing that, because we don't even know if they're
Well, I
comparable.
took Rutherford at 20 years, converted the number of hours because they worked 80 versus 84 to come out with what he would make the same dollars. We didn't do anybody 20 years here, so that number needs to be deleted anyway.
But it just doesn't make any
I won't believe
sense.
that
There's
number.
something we're just not getting.
Well, I mean, if we toward 20 years, 110% of the lieutenant, let's see what we can do. Just for giggles, see what it looks like.
I
It's
know,
your
there,
lieutenant.
I'm pretty sure that we couldn't stop you.
No, I'm just curious. $47, so he makes 41. Okay, about $12,000 still.
That makes more sense.
How long has this employee been in this position? I mean, he's been with the county a very long time, but the thing is it might go back to kind of,
Which one is he? The major of patrols? I can work with him on a couple of things before. Real nice gentleman.
everybody's very
He's a hard
nice.
worker.
Yeah.
He yelled at Janet in your car. Janet, our Janet, was only here for 3 months, or however long she was.
How about that?
It wasn't her fault.
Why don't we just go ahead and then mark it with a bright color until Larry gets back? Or we know what we did orange.
We could do that, or look, can we go ahead and see how many more categories we have and make a list so that we can, like,
Okay,
maybe do a
you've
little
got-
time management?
You've got majors,
We got, and we're working on major,
captains, chief deputy, clerical, maintenance, and IT. And several of them don't-
mechanical.
And maintenance and IT. So you've got most of them done.
And again, I feel like that the non-core should come back in December if there's something.
I think right now, we need to, like,
Maybe the others.
some of them need to
Everything's-
come out. I mean, yeah, they don't need to be even probably dealt with, or they look to be to market, most of those did when we looked at them, not all. But you know, you're gonna want something to get somebody to go from a lieutenant to a major, and I don't know their ranking, I'm assuming it's
I don't.
probably similar to the Army, so it's probably the next rank up maybe.
Where's
Because then you got a
the
captain.
But then how they
Well,
spread,
captain and army would be below major quite a bit, so I don't know.
but how they spread the responsibility, at some point they may have gained an employee in that category and split the responsibility and kept the
Where's
pay
the
low.
captain
I
at?
feel like captain makes more.
What did we just add in the last budget cycle? We moved somebody up a category.
It was, I think you combined two things to make a lieutenant, was it two sergeants to make a lieutenant maybe? Or a brand new position in the,
It was from captain.
Oh, for D-Lane.
So we created a captain.
That's right. But what
But,
positions did they use?
No, they
Or that was
did,
already done.
we have to add in
but there was
detectives
another
also.
one, cause
Detectives
he
need to be put in
asked
there.
for,
We need to do it through detectives.
Another-
Detectives, you put in there too.
we gave him a patrol lieutenant and took away 2 road deputies,
Is that what it was?
wasn't it?
Because they added a lieutenant.
I think
Cause
they,
during budget,
Mhm.
he asked.
they got rid of a deputy and a sergeant made a lieutenant, I believe.
Okay.
So,
It was 2.
Or 2
We gave
deputies.
him 2, I think it was the 2 deputies, cause he said he'd rather have patrol lieutenant than
Yeah,
the
'cause they had
deputies.
one.
patrol lieutenant,
Should
I've
all
got
cover
7
both.
Yes.
lieutenants
They
in
had
patrol.
1 and he wanted 2.
Yeah.
So when we put somebody up that made the others have less responsibility, so, because they had the same amount of people to manage, but we have another person to manage, so I'm just saying it's difficult to know what the other counties are doing without an org chart to see what their responsibilities are.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have a org chart that detailed, most of them wouldn't. They have a number item.
I'm just saying, it's a
Rest of the
difficult
HR does
thing.
it. See, all these counties have like 3 or 4 people in HR, or 5.
I know.
HR departments.
I know, we can't talk about that.
It's not really, there's not really.
So many things I can't
do.
talk about. So many things I
That's
don't
on
want
the
to talk
call.
about.
Mm-mm.
What do is lieutenant captain
It's a lieutenant and a captain and a major, so he's above the captain there, right?
So did you above?
So maybe we need to look
It would
at,
be right under,
Major? I mean, captains have been there forever, so that might be why they need more than
yeah.
So,
I think one of those, charts we did one time, it had a 10% between each one of the categories, but like between a patrol officer to a sergeant, they'd be 2 steps, so one, so then there's no way to tell this neither. Got that one upstairs. Things have changed, the market's changed in 2 years, I think we're nothing now.
What are we waiting on now?
There.
Did he leave the building?
I took it as a family call.
Why don't we just go ahead and I'll say work on, put him in orange, and then we can just get a rhyme or reason and then adjust down.
Okay.
So I'm thinking your next one's your captain.
And he can
You
watch
look
us
at
on
before-
video if he needs more explanation.
He'll be back before then. And it's
Oh,
just-
you wanted that on?
Maybe. Is the volume's not paused, is it?
Wouldn't even know how to do that.
Well, just for informational, there's a red line around here. If it's paused, it'll glow red at the bottom. Oh, I can show you how to pause it too. It's like, it's over there. There's a button. I shouldn't because I'll pause it. There's a button on this piece of the monitor and you touch it and it mutes the room. And it glows red on the bottom so you can keep your, I'm just telling you in case you're in a meeting and you see it glowing red at the bottom. It's a problem.
It says in group throws, what you, there we go. Unhigh. So let's go down and let's compare lieutenants to captains then, if that's your next one in the groups. And we know we're using 2%, so that should make it a little easier. Everybody's using 2%. Except for one. Lieutenants and captains. Tell me when I say the lieutenants.
I have one captain in the
captains.
deputy and 2 in the jail. Just to give us some idea of what we're looking.
There's the captains of the group.
2 captains.
This is the email that the chief sent out. I found it, on September 7th, he sent us out this, and that's what I was looking at.
Is it a lieutenant?
I had forgotten about it. I found it yesterday as I was reviewing. And I found it quite helpful.
Okay, so let's see, your lieutenants, captains divided by your lieutenants, let's see what that look like. Lieutenants, they're 117% of them right now. So if we want to keep really vertical and horizontal,
And we're still looking at captains. We got one
captains
captain.
to lieutenants, because some.
And we're grouping the two captains, or the two categories of captains together.
They've always done that. Kind of my thought process is if we've got 115% from sergeant to lieutenant, why not 115% from captain? Kind of be consistent, because right now your captain's way over here. Even 115 he's gonna be, and then he ended at the 10-year mark like everything else. Do a 2% riser. Because you don't have a lot of bleed in there anyway. And then you may want to change these back to 110 later anyway, because there's highway.
That's for the one that you did not that road.
What'd I do?
The 120%, it's for the category in between.
Oh, was this one I do wrong?
You didn't put in that line 159, you didn't.
Did I do hit undo?
No. Just hide it.
This one?
Well, yeah,
Oh, so 120% isn't the difference between sergeants and
no,
lieutenants?
that's for a different,
Or whatever,
But it wasn't at
it was
115%?
117.
that must be lieutenant. Jail.
What was the difference between lieutenants and sergeants?
It was 117.
15%.
Oh, sure.
So what if we use captains as 115%?
And then compare it to what the market,
Lieutenant.
Mm-hmm. Why not just do here?
you know.
Where did that come from?
I don't know what happened when you deleted everything out here. I don't know why it wasn't tied to something out here. Why is it tied to something?
Did you make the spread go all the way back at one point?
Probably. So let's just go up here and try the 110, you said? 115. What we did on the other. So if we take that, see what it looks like, times 1.15, and then we make a spread of 2% like everybody else. Times 1.02, and then pull it across, see what it looks like. And that's how the patrol is going to leave it out too. There in here. Average is 49, 43, we have 49.66. We have an average, we have, without adjusting, 40.14 or 41.55, and some of them have retirement plotted in there and more hours.
So what would
That
be,
puts us about
does
where you want
Galton
to.
not have a captain? And what were the numbers from Hendersonville? I know you got some off of,
Galton don't have a captain apparently.
what is their upper management? I mean, they have to have something.
Eric would have that.
What, can we go back to the Galton, that blue and white?
What's that hash? Plus you
Because it seems like we're high.
divided by, I'll tell you. I think we're high.
I'm just wondering.
Well, I'm looking at averages here. You pull that average, you got an average of 40.14, and we're 41.55.
Well, we beat 3 out of 4.
At 10, we're 49.43, and we're 49.66. You want to look at which one?
I just, yeah, this. So what's there's their captain. What's that hourly?
They didn't even show us that salary. That's a good point. So if we take 77,198 and divide by how many hours the captains work?
Right?
Yeah.
Captain's
Very
3.5.
How many?
Divided by 8.5 times 260. Let me see what.
payroll class tomorrow. This should get me ready, right? I'm going to get down to Nashville for,
You need to go pay, how much? How long do you just put that in there? Like if she didn't have her.
What was her salary again? 77 what?
77, 1 something, yeah.
77,198.
And again, they're stepping, we're just
34.93 an hour.
34.
34.93.
And what do we have in there right now?
41.
Yeah, see, I just feel like I feel like that's high.
Why don't we
If you
just
put the
step it
30
at 110%?
Yeah, put in Galton's number
Put
there
the
and then get us a new
34.
average.
Plus, what was the gross salary you get, I gave you that?
77, 169, 198,
77, 198,
198.
16, can you remember that? Plus 77, 198.16, divided by parentheses, plus 260, times how many hours a day? 34, 33. Which would make a total here of 39.51. So let's try 110%.
And when you averaged it, why did you include the recommended in the average?
Oh, did I?
You did.
Messed up, didn't
I just thought maybe you were catching
I?
something.
39.10. And this would make the recommended if we use 110 of 39.75. So yeah, it's pretty close to the average.
Galveston might be taking our patrol people, but they don't have anywhere to go.
Well, that would be,
You know?
and that's supported by our numbers here because
Yeah.
these positions haven't moved and they're not moving.
Yeah.
There's no bleed in the upper positions. Our salaries are very competitive in those ranges.
Yeah.
They were starting, but once you get, I mean, look at the guy, 11 years, he's at 39.82.
So he'll pop up, but look at his raise he's gonna get.
Mm-hmm. That's be mayor.
That's a huge raise.
Which one?
That one,
Right there.
39.82. Be mayor. He was a lieutenant, now he's a jail captain.
Oh, okay.
Just shows it.
Because all the other guys have been
I
doing
mean,
it
that's-
20 years.
So now we
And
need
it's
to
a
go
category
from
that's not
captain to
bleeding.
major, and
Do
let's
you
see
know
what
that?
major looks
So,
like.
that's interesting,
They don't have a major in Gallatin.
what he said about why the
Oh,
captain's
there it
on the
is.
thing, because Captain Cantor, he was out patrol.
So
Now
I
knows his
I
street.
still say,
But he doesn't have the same.
Well, let's compare it to right here, we've got a major
He
too.
said he was,
The same thing with majors.
I took that he was.
Figure out what their hourly
I
is
think
here.
we should leave ours alone.
The major.
Right.
Yeah.
But I wonder what that.
Why?
If you put
like,
that in
goes
there,
into the attack,
that
you know what I
last one
mean?
you just
Like,
gave that guy at 17, you just proposed a $17,000 raise.
Let's see what the cost is on hand.
Yeah.
Because we're having turnover, if we have to, we move to 105 or something, but I think we get it all done and then go back and compare it. Make an interactive sheet for Friday, and if we're over the total, we figure out where we want to decrease.
And is that where we want to go? Are we aiming to spend every penny?
Uh,
I mean, I'd like to leave some
That and
flexibility.
recover that ARPA money, that
I'd
includes.
like,
our-
we gotta,
Well, if we
I'm
get
gonna
ARPA-
talk for a long time if we don't recover that ARPA. If
get
we
that,
don't, we're gonna pop it up,
we Have
right?
to come up with it next year. So let's go over here and look, because right here what we've got, and this. Wow, we took the 10 years off, it made a big difference.
It did, and I really think that was a good move. But
But
I'm
my
just
only
thinking
thing-
if we don't, if we
not to-
leave flexibility, then we come back in 2-3 months.
Not to
we
speak
can-
against or for, but most places, if you hear one of the complaints, it's dead end jobs. Well, if you've not got anywhere to move up and they don't pay good, then there's no upward movement ever, and it does cause more turnover.
We don't have any turnover in our top positions here.
So maybe we just need to do a 5% jump on them, I don't know. But let's look at this one, the lieutenant deputy. 3520, we got 3613, I mean, we can move it to 110. That's deputy, I'm sorry, lieutenant, where's, it's the same thing on that one. Where's the captain at? That's what we're looking at. There it is. Your captain is, did we not have Calvin in there? Yeah, Calvin. And this is without, we only get 95% of that too in here. So they had to pay 5%, so Gallatin's even less than that. Because that 5% retirement we're paying.
Yeah, but once you mention that 401k match, I mean, that's still some more money out there.
they can get, but they gotta put it in to match it, have their check.
And it's still money, if they do it. I would do it.
So let's look at your major, just look at it, I mean, we went this far, might as well look at all of them, that's my thought. Cut him off at the 10 year and see what it does. So let's just say you want a decreasing increase, so let's just do him as 105%. You get a 5% increase moving from a captain to a major, let's just say that, okay? And then you go there and we just say you want a 2% vertical or horizontal like everybody else. And pull him to 10 years, let's see what that really does. He's out here, what, 41? And you give him about
Mhm.
$8 an hour, so he's gonna get a good bump.
Yeah, but again, we're assuming that without knowing what these people's responsibilities are,
So we're gonna ask Eric when he's back.
yeah, it's something for him to, that's definitely.
I mean, maybe we wanna do low percentages, I'm not saying that, the thing is, you're getting apples to oranges, and that's what we've got here right now, and you're gonna have to get a good rhyme and reason.
I understand.
And it may be the sum, I think maybe your lieutenants are too high, that's why we're all throwing where we're at right
I
now.
believe so.
And that's something we need to revisit at the end. So if you do, these spreads should be 2%. There's the other. I mean, change it to anything, that's kind of what we're at right now, so we're doing hypothetical, so let's go through hypothetical one at least to get it out of the way. 5%, did you get a 5% raise to going from captain, 5% raise to going to lieutenant? Theoretically, 5%, 15% from going from what, sergeant, and what was it, 18% going from patrols? His captain's 20%, though, that's probably
No.
maybe,
That's at 158, and
Oh.
somebody else.
we'll have to,
Yeah.
I don't need to mess with him, do we? It's 110%, okay. So now who do we have, detectives?
Mhm.
That's one we were looking at too. was
Yeah,
John.
I need Eric to do that to us.
Yeah, because detectives are way.
Yeah.
So let's look at chief, while he's not here,
Sergeant.
one we probably need to look at is chief deputy. Because you know he's not gonna recommend anything for himself, we need to see if his is on mark.
That's
We need to
probably
be fair.
true.
We need to be fair.
Well, and it's not on Mark.
He's got the most responsibility of anybody over there, so we need to figure out what's the reasonable on the chief deputy.
He's hidden.
Not,
And-
which wouldn't be
Think that
nothing,
would-
I'm about to say. Okay.
But even, that's,
Right now, they're gonna have
but
captains.
it's just unfortunate that these have all gotten so out of whack.
There he is.
Okay. So Eric is actually way over here on the 15-year mark, so if we do something off the 10, where's Eric at, right there? He's making 44. With what we had recommended 60, that would be $20 an hour, you're talking $50,000.
Mhm.
Wait a second, he's 44?
He's a 1-year chief deputy.
That's why we were thinking there's these resets over
He's
here.
been with the sheriff's office.
Yeah,
What was major?
well, again, he's only been in that position for a year, so they
Right,
haven't
so-
really
I
had.
understand that, but,
If he has more responsibility than
The
the
major.
major, he should be making more than
Yeah,
the
that's-
major.
so what's major?
What's he making right now? He's not making quite as much, but
41 something.
41.
41 right now.
And Eric's making how much?
Oh, I thought it was more than that.
It will be if you guys see, Eric, he's only making 44. He's making, so you're not making a huge difference between your chief deputy and your, and if you're looking at your chief deputy pay, see, that's where we're getting these
Chief
fuzzy.
deputy, he
I mean,
came-
who-
What does the police chief in Gallatin make? That's another
he
one.
came at- he
Yeah,
was a
let's look at
lieutenant.
that.
Police chief is more like the sheriff, so let's just see what the police chief.
Well,
Just
without,
for
but
giggles.
not that
I mean,
much. He
he's
doesn't have
like
all that
all this
responsibility though.
stuff.
I
Or
mean,
do we look
I
at
wouldn't
assistant police
say,
chief?
yeah,
Let's get
because,
assistant police chief. Let's see what the assistant police chief makes. It's 89, 3648. Beth, can you remember that amount? And I'll divide it out.
40, 29.
Plus 89, what was the amount? Let's go back with him since he's back. Sorry. We'll come back to him in a minute. Okay, where did we go after he left?
We were-
Captains
we were on
captains are
major.
next after lieutenants and major.
And did
We
we
were-
finish major?
I was gonna say we
think we
were
were
at
at
major
major
when I
when he walked
But I don't
out.
think we did, but I
We
think we
didn't
did, we went ahead and did captain, then major, he could come back with him when he got here.
So we wanna wrap up captain or major?
Captain makes less than major, so probably is, because they're the lead. So what we're looking at right now, what we have is 110% between your lieutenant to a captain. And if you look at the increase, it's pretty substantial. That's what we're looking at. That's why we're not sure if it should be 105 or 110 to get these verticals, because they're all over the place. The average with everybody not accounting for retirement is 39.10, and we have 39.75, and some of those get 5% retirement, so we may need to actually split it back just a tiny bit, like maybe to 8%. See if it gets back,
Yeah.
let's try 108.
Because again, I think Gallatin should weigh more because we're right here.
39.02, the average with the retirement in there is 39.10, so it puts us above average, and he's at 39.82 for a lady person, so he would be quite a bit off the scale right now still. But I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong, unless our captains are different than theirs in some way. And the biggest one that drives us is concerned is this right here. That's what makes me think they're doing some kind of reset on their service.
Mhm.
So which one's data is we looking at that we know they were doing that? Was it Wilson?
No, I thought it was Montgomery.
It's Montgomery's
But
data.
I
So they didn't reset till captain?
Montgomery, if you look, and the reason we know is they have like detectives. You have a 19-year detective, but he's in step 4. And then we talked to him about the way they did it. They said
Yeah, but
step
you're
4.
on Wilson.
Wilson, we don't know. We didn't have time to call every one of them's data.
Uh,
Some of us gave us salary sets, surveys, and data sets, and answered questions. Some of them answered questions, gave us salary. Some of them didn't do nothing. Some of them, we had to take different sources. That's what we've got, and what we could kind of piece together to try to find out what would be a thought of a competitive area for you guys, or data for you to look at. And if we look at Gallatin, we took what they have in for their captain, divided by 260 times 8.5, you know, to get what an hourly rate to make him the same salary.
What was
And
the
34.
bump from sergeant to captain then?
Well, it's from a lieutenant.
I mean lieutenant to captain?
108%, 8% raise. So if you were a captain the same year, and we're doing year for year, you'd get an 8% raise automatically to get promoted to captain.
Okay. Which kind of goes along with the 10%.
So it gets a little smaller, your percentage to start maybe patrol to sergeant to big one, a little different from lieutenant, but still pretty good bump. A little smaller, maybe that's kind of, and then the thing is to major was the next one we were looking at. Let's look at major here.
As far as this vertical look, has this been done at the sheriff's department in years past that you know of? Because it's, thank you.
Theirs was one time, was before Eric's time.
Right.
If you were a patrol officer, you all made the same, unless you had something special. If you were a lieutenant, you all made the same, except for a jail lieutenant, a patrol lieutenant. So no matter, if I was a 20-year lieutenant and you were a 3-year lieutenant, we made the same thing for your patrols.
And even after all this work, I'm not sure the commission's not gonna come back and say that with a 5-minute discussion.
Oh, they don't want to have the vertical, or it's too.
I don't know, I'm just trying to say, I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't know, I mean, thing is, I'm just with you guys on the committee to recommend the budget. The budget will
I love
recommend, and
numbers.
then, all we can do is on a nice table and the reasoning that you think this, and then it's up to you guys. 20, some of it is the
So
budget.
far, this seems pretty clean, so.
Mine is Eric, we're looking at this, and we were thinking maybe 5% for your major, and that's because even at 5, it puts him way, and then when we put him with Gallatin, he's way over Gallatin too. Where's Gallatin at? If we go just pull Gallatin's major and show him, I don't think we get it yet. Gallatin. There it is. Can you remember, she marked that down, 84, 878, 30? 84.
Well, if
See,
Eric doesn't see that there'll be much pushback, then I say, why are we messing around with it? Leave it to what it is and let's move on.
well, my thought is you don't wanna see an employee where they think they were unfairly.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, if he thinks that, then fine, we'll play with it.
Well, I'm talking about the major itself would probably wanna know, make sure we at least looked at the stuff.
You know, he's going up anyway, isn't he?
Right, but we just wanna see we wanna see if the 5% makes sense, is what I'm just gonna look at Gallatin real quick, look at the average. I understand it takes time to pay for 878. Just kind of, if it was me, I'd want somebody to do it. Times is 8.4.
5.
So his hourly in Gallatin thing would be that number. So let's see what it looks like to the average when we do it. And just an account for retirement, so, their average is 42, counting all of them in there, 40.97, and at the same time, if we count for some of those retirements, 43 is what it actually, so yeah, I think he's pretty much above average, just tiny bit, not much, counting retirement. And some haven't, some don't. What do you think about the 5% climb there? Pretty reasonable, or?
Especially with the retirement on it, yeah.
I mean, yeah, and still, I think the 40, compared to Gallatin, and I am weighing them a lot heavier. It's $2 more over Gallatin an hour for an employee that,
We don't know the full duties when we
Yeah.
compare them to other counties down here, like, we'd be 38, them two are in line, and then these two are more, it's Robertson, I kind of, loaded it, but Wilson's way up there, but I don't know exactly what they're doing. Yeah, I'm not sure, but even at 1 year, it would be for Wilson.
And that's a pretty decent
Yeah.
gap
Yeah.
too. Like 10 years.
Because he's gonna be a 10-year employee, isn't he?
Yeah, he's,
He's 41, 48, that's 16,000 bucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
that's a heavy,
I say that's perfect.
that's,
Let's leave it for now and then see what the dollars look like at the end. I mean, it's kind of where you're, probably see what the dollars look like later. Then you've got the one that we need to talk about next is the chief deputy.
I don't wanna be involved in that discussion.
we were doing it
We're
without
gonna do
you.
it while
and
you're
then came
gone,
back.
but you,
I'll walk out.
well, you can stay in here and watch.
No.
No, it ain't gonna make a difference.
Okay.
We're going, we do have some questions for yours, Eric, and it will be.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gallatin. They got a police chief and an assistant police chief. Of those two, which do you think your position more closely resembles? I know we have a sheriff here, but we have a bigger department than Gallatin, so I'm not in a jail.
My position would be closer to police chief.
Okay. How many hours was there? What did David do here?
What's divided by?
No?
No, but you
Oh.
don't have it. You,
Oh, I don't have it
Yeah.
divided in there, just want to put it times. Let it clarity for now, then I'll fix it. Okay, it's pretty much in line with what we, that does make sense. So if we're looking at an average, it would be 49.14. Okay, so I would say, first let's see what vertical climb he does from that major. Makes it, or, major's your next one, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Which direction, see? Anybody know? I don't know, we've got so many of them in here.
you're going too fast.
I know, like 9 times.
Well, I mean, you know, when she was doing it, I didn't know she had where that is. So. Where's Eric at?
oh, that's it.
Let's get a 2% vertical whatever we do. Oh, because that was determined that way, so let's get that out there. Start. Okay, let's get you across the 10 years. All this. Okay, so we're right out here.
Captain's lieutenant.
No, no, okay. Yeah, I think that. Chief deputy, maybe low. Yeah, it's low, it should be around 49, and even get an average, so. I know there's that 5%, but still should be not reaching. Yeah. Okay. Not count for the 5%, if we pull an average, what's your start of a chief deputy right now? It is 49.12, that's 49.17, so it's pretty close. 120% vertical rise from 3 year. Do 2% like everybody else. I think that, based on what we're doing, we're trying to get an average in here. And we did the 110s and 108s based on what the other counties did, it got you there. And this is using the,
I feel
Yeah.
good because it's so close to Gallatin's number.
I do too, and I feel good because it meets an average and it's a logical percentage.
Plus there's the retirement on top of it, right?
Right, so I mean, if you take his retirement difference, he's slightly above average, is what we've been doing for everybody. He's 49.12 average, we're down and take the average, so he's slightly above average, but that's what we got on all of them.
So are we looking at this like we do all the others, or is this?
He would be at the 15-year, well, he'd be at the 10-year mark because it's
Okay.
capped at 10, we've got 15 years
Right.
of service. So we've got, I think he's got 15. Yeah.
But do you hire in a chief deputy yet?
Same thing with the majors and the captains and
Yeah,
everything else
that's what I
though.
mean, though. Why did they
Yeah,
have all
we-
these steps if everybody else?
That's what I'm running
one
into
year
with
that
all
they're
of them.
chief, you know what I mean?
Well, I've been hired in as a finance director a bunch of times for counties, I don't know. But it's a different job, I don't know. Hired in as law director.
So I'm still not sure if we can print apples to apples.
Yeah, it's,
When you get to the really high up people.
Well, but this is all we got to go on,
Yeah.
right? So,
The other thing is you don't,
But I mean, why
But
do they even have these steps?
are we bleeding?
Because
You're gonna go
can't
look for a new
be
job?
You can't be a chief deputy if you only have.
obviously, as your
one
chief
year
deputy
coming
should
out the
make
street.
a
Yeah.
reasonable amount
So
more
why
than
would
your
they have all those
existing
lower
captain.
steps?
What's the
Major.
sheriff make per hour?
I'm sorry, majors, he the most. The sheriff,
Yeah, sheriff per hour, give it to us.
we got to put the budget in.
We can't pay Eric
She's
more
done.
than the sheriff.
You got the sheriff there?
I mean, we kinda,
132,740.
in that way, it's kinda like
No, 133,400.
a down looking on the
Let me do
vertical.
it. Plus 133,400
Yeah.
divided by, so how many hours are we gonna calculate the sheriff? Because
8.5 is what we do.
Yeah,
that would be true,
that's,
because it'll multiply back out if we don't.
8.4.
Yeah, he's gonna be making less than the sheriff, about $2 an hour. So let's say if the sheriff, if he's making, the sheriff's gonna be making more than he is.
That's why I don't think we can look at the high ups
Too.
the way you do.
I
the
think, I
others.
agree. This is,
I mean, even to the point like of the majors.
it's just been feeling kinda,
Whatever.
So if we wanna back
You
into.
can't-
As a one-year employee,
Well,
be chief.
okay, if we're wanting to back into it and we want to have 1 year chiefs, let's say for instance, or whatever, and we're trying to convert for that one, let's just say that's the case. Well, how much more do we think the sheriff should logistically make than the chief deputy? 5%? We could
The
back,
sheriff has a lot more years than,
well, I mean, the years don't affect the sheriff's pay.
oh, no.
If I get elected as a 1 year sheriff, I get paid the same.
Right.
Probably not gonna happen.
again, but that goes right back to the same argument. As you look at these higher up in management, it makes no sense to continually look at steps because you go in, like you said, you go in higher.
I mean, because he comes in at step one, but he still has the 15-year longevity.
And it's still calculated in there, whether they were there to get it or not, it's still,
But I'm saying if we're gonna do the post-certified, count post-certified years, and I don't know if you had any before here, did you? So yours would be, so his would be accurate 15. My thought is, why don't we,
I feel like at a certain point, you can't do it that way anymore.
Can't you just, with like, let's say major and chief, just create a line cap and then it's at the sheriff's discretion what he wants to pay him?
how much do you think the sheriff should make, what, 10% more than the chief deputy? Do you think that's fair on the top end? If you had the top end chief deputy, do you think he should make no more than 90% of the sheriff? Is that what we're saying? I mean, we've gotta have some,
no, I'm just laughing at you because we keep going, we can't do this, and then you're like, well, Terry, what do you think? Let's do it.
well, no, what mine is, I think we need to, so if we did it this way, we make this number here, 90% of the sheriff, and back it backwards and let them count all years, it should.
I
Would
think,
that be acceptable to everybody? I mean, I guess to Terry.
I think that at some point here, where we're gonna have to get to the point is that there has to be some kind of cap on what we're looking for in raises. Because some of these raises are significant. Some of these lifts are like 17,000.
How about on this one, just to keep us moving?
And this lift here,
I
and I mean, I know
recommend-
it's your lift and you don't wanna talk about it, but this lift is huge.
How about if I recommend this to be 5433, and I vertically back all these down 2% to the one, and we leave it the calculations on years of service? And the chief deputy did not recommend that for himself, so I recommended it. Because I think the thing is, you've got to have places for people to aspire. Well, the tallest position you can go to.
We don't want
is
anybody
chief deputy.
shooting.
Well, that ain't what I mean. But mine is to go to 54, 33, and then back each one of these down to 2. And just to be fair with his would be the difference between those two
If this is
times.
none of my business, fine, but when you got interviewed, took this position, you didn't get it, you had to interview with the sheriff, right?
He appointed me. Yeah.
So it's an appointment by him, and did y'all discuss money? And he picked them out.
Based on the budget. What
So
was
I'm
available.
thinking this is almost an exempt position from this stepping.
All the rest of them included them, and if you don't get careful, we kick up the
Then-
major.
then
The
create-
major's gonna make more than he does.
Then create a cap and let that's just. the sheriff.
That's what I'm saying.
90% the sheriff. 90% of the sheriff is 5433 and back in. 1% of the sheriff, because that's what we're
And then
brought
the
up.
sheriff has the latitude to go anywhere he wants to within that line.
Right, but, based on everything else it'd be, I mean, really, it's kind of where, But some of these counties, when you talk to them, allow people to hire to the midpoint based on, like if you get a really experienced person, you want year one, I can hire somebody at 0 here at midpoint, which is 10
Well,
years.
that's one of the beauties of that Rutherford chart of positions, is they can choose their position, they can be,
Midpoint.
janitor 1, or they got up to janitor 6,
Well, that's
so they can
between the
pick
ranges this way, so it's to be based on experience and skills, but this way is the way, like, the
the
cross, the
range.
step shield. Like if you're chief deputy, you're chief deputy, there's not, going this way, but some of them allow you to hire the midpoint.
I see what you're saying.
According to their policies, because, you may say, hey, this is really experienced, I'm not gonna get anybody for a start level for this. But we're in the middle of one where nothing exists, except for they made it all the same, and we did a partial separation, was it 2 years ago? I think it's 2 years ago. With some longevity steps, which were about 1% each, based on 5-year bands, I think. I
think it was 5-year bands.
5-year bands, and I think it's 1% difference on them, if I'm not mistaken. That's why they're so compacted still. Myself, based on the way we're doing everything else, I would recommend the 5433 and back 2% down on each one.
Let's put that in,
And then we back the major back that direction. from
and then when
there.
we go and look at the true numbers, we come back and we regroup on Friday with true numbers. We'll see,
I'm gonna go this way.
because again, I don't think this is fixing a bleed, but it is making all of this very clean.
you look, that's gonna put your chief deputy year one at the lowest.
Where you're not gonna have a chief deputy coming in.
But you're not gonna have
Step one.
Right, they're all gonna be step 10.
Cause you guys are saying there's some issue with this having the one.
Because if we keep it the way we're doing it,
Based on
we'll
years.
never have somebody as a 1.
Unless we hire like
They'll
that.
always be a 10.
Well, everybody gets back into the one for like our, jail administrator, we'd had a year one of him. So, I mean, but I'm not gonna say year. But me, I think, and it gives about a 10% rise here, but it gives kind of on these, doesn't meet the average. But
I don't know, would a sheriff ever appoint a chief deputy
Absolutely,
off the street?
absolutely.
So like jail admin, same type of situation.
I can just say right now, I myself feel like 5433 is low, based on this right here. And this right here.
But when I'm saying that I'd like to see a cap on total overall lifts, this is the highest lift we've had. So if I'm going to discuss total lifts,
I can understand, or use the reasoning 90% of the sheriff, because the sheriff has to make 10% more.
is this 90%?
That
No.
but I mean, still,
And I'm sorry that you're underpaid.
No comment.
We'll get you some paint on that car yet.
okay, so do we want to go down each one of them and look at them now and see the lifts between everybody and the few?
And if we could entertain just for a moment before then, it is 3 o'clock.
We got detectives too, one of you.
We sure do. So what time, we need an end time, because I have another meeting at 5:30.
I can make detectives real easy.
Okay.
They're sergeants in our organization. They intermingle, right? If a detective wants to ladder on a patrol sergeant wants to ladder on the CID, the detectives should just match the sergeants.
So let's time
That's how we
to-
use
All
them.
right.
Let's
And to
talk
talk about an end time, how about 3:45?
That fixes the problem.
Sounds good to me.
Well, and we'll continue on with this, but just so we have a stop.
Well, let's go to the detectives and figure out the hourly, if there's any number of hours difference. If not, let's tie detectives or sergeants. Now, it's got a big one fixed.
Just pass them.
Where's detectives at? Right there. The question is, do detectives and sergeant work the same number of hours?
Well, no, some are 8.4, some are 8.5.
Okay. That's something we're gonna have to work out to get on, just.
Right.
But right now, I'm gonna tie them.
But
to
that's not
sergeant.
material, right?
I'm gonna tie them to sergeant right now. That's something you guys are gonna have to work out during the week on our sheets when we get to them. When we get them back Friday. Or sergeant. And they would be a sergeant in patrol, right? Well, that one was easy.
That's what I was thinking.
I like that one.
that's a whole nother
Oh,
category when we look at
54.
other places.
And I feel like it looked like they're overpaid, but that's why I was like, I don't think they have the same.
I don't know. Let's see what they look like now. I mean,
They should be the same. 'cause that's how
36 to
they've been
35, so
paid.
he's a little under. 34 to 30.
Looks like 50.
Okay. Here is the next one let's pull right here. Deputies, corrections, schools, clerical and IT's left. You have 2 cafeteria workers. I don't think we want to look at those. But you have clerical and IT, and let's go to IT first. Where is this at? Where's IT at?
What's your,
IT.
what's your retention in administrative jobs?
Well, we've had 2 vacancies right now that I can't fill because no one's applied.
What were those?
But I think these have to be
NCIC.
stuff and these don't.
Close to the sun.
There's so few of them.
So that would be considered administrative?
Clerical, they fall into that same category.
What falls under clerical?
NCIC.
Okay. That's why maybe they'll work on clerical.
It's a few dollars off.
The only thing we got left is clerical, IT, and cafeteria workers, which aren't really any of your streets or your bleeds right now. The only thing I have with it, we called some of these, and some of these have degrees and stuff, they're like degree IT folks and stuff.
I think it's very difficult to,
And there's so few, I think my recommendation would be to leave the IT kind of where it's at, let them step through this regular cost of living on that one, because the data sets, not a big bleed, I mean, unless somebody's real objectionable to that one.
I'm just wanting to make sure we get the core done.
Okay, so I'll leave this as is, because we gotta have something, or.
And then I'm not interested in spending all the money, because I think we're gonna need flexibility, like I've said a couple of times, to come back and make some adjustments.
Cap that one too.
Yes, but I would have it fixed at the same amount right now, because even if we put it in there, it may not even change.
Oh, okay.
Let me go back. Maybe let's get rid of that. On my head. So it's what, 41, 48, I'll fix it. So if we even use an average here, we'll have to go back and look at that one. So your average there is 39.65, and that includes retirement. And the thing is, we ended up ones that had like network engineers and degrees, and so we don't really have a good comparison over there.
And IT's in flux with the new court system. Those responsibilities are going down, I think, if I'm understanding right.
I think the courthouse is, I don't know,
Moving.
I'm not sure. That was my understanding that it was going to the IT, but I think so. He's gonna be, I have to deal with it and stuff. So let's just look what the, step average. Well, that's one I was going to come back and just kind of look at after the fact. Unless somebody's objectionable, let's leave it as is for now. Not include it on the table because just one person and very few data points. Most of them don't even have IT departments or IT people.
Is that because they have their IT departments are paid under the county IT department?
County IT. Yeah, we can see when that's what we're saving right now. Let's look at their clerical. That's one. A lot of them are above the marks. If you look at the, we can use that average kind of calculation. But the thing is, we have some below, and I think it's because what we and the cities and the other ones have in clerical is a big bunch of people, and it's not very easily graded.
Wide range.
I think it's a wide range.
I'd like to see the clerical for the county.
Oh, they're up here
Is that,
based on years of service, but
but that's the sheriff's clerical, right?
yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, a lot of clerical here in this building. I wonder what the clerical is for the county.
If you count people like bookkeepers and clerical all together, a lot of people. It's a majority of the rest of your county, other than like highway, like circuit court clerk, you'd probably consider those clerical type. County clerk, library, I don't know. So I'm saying this one's not dissimilar from a lot of other offices too. And then I'd probably recommend myself personally just to leave this one alone, rather than trying to combine in all that ARC money into their base salary at some point, to keep them from. And then the same thing, if we look, some of them are way, but they've been here a long time, they're way past those marks. Some of them's below, if you look at that, but I don't know what that is.
Can you go back to step, I think 9 was the last one we had?
This one?
Yeah, and then highlight all the other agencies so I can see the average.
Oh, where? Besides you guys?
Yes, besides us.
Uh,
Or 2406, okay.
2406, you guys are 2369, a little bit, not count for the retirement issue. So I think
So
they're-
right in the middle.
I think that's one we may just want to come back to do further exploration with everybody budget next year. Kind of my fault, because they need to be segregated what they really are. Because you've got clerical down in the jail, they call it clerical, but it's really something different.
Corrections officers.
Yeah.
But they do stuff that's,
I don't know what they do.
Well,
they call them clerical, and we don't know 100%.
But they're,
they do correction stuff and they do sentence calculations and submitting stuff to ICE. It's unfortunately the sheriff's office, everyone wears multiple hats. It's not just.
Maybe we need a full-blown study
so
on
those
that.
those people are not in this.
What's left of the county and those folks may need to be in a
Well,
full-blown
then
study
is there
again.
duplication of work?
So that's what I'm saying, they're not a large group, but they're very diverse, and they really need somebody to do a full-blown, for look at them study.
I got 21 clerical on my list. I mean, that's a lot of people.
And as I'm saying, some of those were classified as jailers, so we would probably want to tag those along in the jail.
It feels like we need a in-depth study of all county positions.
We had one, but it's out.
I know, I hear you.
It's 2 years old, and honestly, the last time they did one, we did a lot of the work in the office, didn't we? We dealt with a lot of it, so we didn't, it was a nightmare to do budget. But then the other one we're looking at here, your maintenance personnel hours on average is higher than the only other ones that had one was Montgomery, so we actually looked at Sumner counties and we're far beyond both of those, so unless there's something different, that's where we got, we was pegged with them. I think he's over here at 32. It may need further study, but I think that's another one that we don't have enough data. I think right now you've addressed the big groups. So kind of where I would lean is to deal with all the big groups you've got except for clerical, maintenance, mechanic, the two people in the cafeteria. Am I missing anybody else? I didn't get right.
I think you're,
And IT. And I think they need to be in a broader if we're gonna look at them. I don't think they're really the turnover people right now either.
what's the total from that two now?
And this number not going to be right till we work on it.
Yeah, until we put who's in which step.
You know, it's showing low, but it's going to be, we've got to figure out if we're going to give credit for, if we're going to give service for the amount of time you're post-certified or DCI certified, then we need to figure that out.
I have two schools of thought on that, right? Like Gallatin is doing it and they're recruiting some of our deputies to come over there. But on the other side of that coin, what does that do to our deputy who's been here and done the stuff and now we're bringing another guy in? You see what I'm saying? I do see both sides of that argument, so I'd like to digest that a while.
Or you could do a limited amount.
Right, I think,
If you're willing to come to us, you have to give up some, but not all of it. We're phase one, we could just base it on the years of service you got with Sumner, and then we go back and look at that as phase two, any additionals.
Phase two being like a future discussion, phase two,
Like
or?
right now, we get our table gets into budget, and hopefully it'll be less than the total we've got, and say, hey, we want to come back and look at these prior credits.
Yeah, I
As the
definitely
number
think we
two.
need to
That'll
leave
get
money.
us, they'll be able to get something more likely to be successful, and get some money too,
So-
speed us up.
as of right now, before we plug positions into step, we're at 2.517.
We're counting, you use, the money for the SROs,
Right.
and that's that ARPA money.
And then that would mean that
we
everybody's
don't-
at step one?
And we don't know, we don't know how accurate this, we need to look at it. But right now, we tried to plug them into their steps that they're in and do a formula. But I'm saying these have all got to be verified,
Right.
worked on, we did them quick, but it's gonna take a few more days to even go through them.
And you're gonna email this to us, right? And
You want to see email it was as is, or do you just want it to do?
I want what we're working on right
Yeah.
now.
We'll
That
email
way,
it. One thing I ask you to do, ignore hidden, there's a bunch of hidden, worthless, nothing confidential, but they're worthless tabs down in there. And I wouldn't unhide them and delete them because they may be linked.
Well,
I was trying to get rid of them, we had a small issue, I
Yeah.
kept deleting them.
I don't,
Yeah, we'll just email that too.
Small issue.
this does have people's information in it, right? I built it so it's not,
Names, has
Mhm.
names.
Yeah, it's in a
Okay.
pivot across, there's like a pivot table here. And if you want to hunt somebody's name, you can hunt it, or the original data had it matched here.
okay.
So it'll kind of show you who they are, and we're gonna try to get people working on it, including me, tomorrow. But same thing, if your people are working on it too. Well, if they start working on it,
That's-
then they'll work with us,
that's what I was
like
gonna say.
what they're gonna do.
I'll connect with you in the morning.
Okay.
There's no reason for you guys to do the same thing we're doing. Let's split and divide and conquer, I guess is the best way to say it.
Anything I'm supposed to be doing? Okay, I'll do that. This is more important, okay, we can skip that.
But can we do that?
What now? We're just gonna be working on a sheet to bring back, because right now, I think what we need to do, because it's open meeting and everything, is determine the way we're gonna calculate stuff and what we're gonna count
Yeah.
right now in this meeting, and then we recess, go out and we all work on it, come back with, in the open meeting with the table that we've created based on the decisions that were made today. Because it's basically the thing is to get it together after this.
Right.
So we have to determine what we think we can get done by logistically Monday, and I think right now, my thought process, because I've worked on a lot of projects and it's very hard not to overshoot time, I think we should just count years of service in the county right now, knowing that we may want to come back and detail budget, we may want to come back and pick up for TCI and, I want to say POS for post, yeah, it's post too, and post certified time as phase 2. That way we can run with these longevity numbers that we know are correct. Because we got formulas that tell your longevity years in the budget, we know those are correct. So if we run your year where you're at based on your longevity, we know those. We already know what you existingly make, we came up with the table. If we run with that, then relatively we can start verifying, massaging the numbers in the morning. If we go back and we wait to get all the, different amounts for pre-post, then that's gonna take long because we gotta start adjusting all these numbers up. Because your date of the service will go back and forth all over the place. That's kind of my thought process. Plus I've got to adjust it for the longevity deal. I'll work it out.
Say that in about 1,000 less words.
Okay. We've got two ways we can do. We can all run and try to get the pre-post stuff that we would like to have in here, but to know how these projects run, I think we're going to be hard pressed to get it accurate and get it to budget committee by Monday. And right now you've got turnover and people are, for a better word, getting nervous about what they think they can do. The best thing is if we just count county years of service, work up the table, work up the charts, work up the cost, and then meet Friday, then we can determine, hey, that's probably what we want to do with the budget. With the thought process is if there's money left on the table, that they would like to go back and look at the cost for counting pre-existing post credits and TCI credits and changing it to where you can hire people in for so much existing. But for the start point, just to get it done quicker and get the cost, start with you just count county years of service. That's kind of my thought process. Just working on a lot of these projects that you're most likely to get it done successfully and as accurately as possible.
And I agree with that. And back to the very beginning, I just wish we had more time. But I understand the urgency, but just leave enough flexibility in there to realign for some oversights or and other things.
Well, we're
and
gonna double
knowing-
check and stuff.
yeah.
This, I do, and Eric went water, so there's very few to zero errors if we have enough time. So if we don't change the start date, it's gonna make the project much smaller. So I think we can run with that. With, say if we leave, make up a number, $400,000 on the table, we come back and figure out for $400,000, whatever, what can you do for pre-existing credits? It may be a partial credit, and we maybe only count a third of them, maybe we can count all of them.
I think that's was that a motion?
And
then we also have your tables we can
with
adjust
that-
them if we under too much money Friday. We'll come back in here this way. That's my motion, but I mean, it can be,
Second.
but Terry discussed it.
Did you get all that?
Nope.
Okay, phase 1, we run with existing amounts of service with the county. We come back Friday and look at the tables and determine the funding with the remainder, with their caveat or recommendations to use it to look at existing post and is it TCI, possible counting pre-existing post and TCI credits for employees. Now, the only issue we're gonna run into, Eric, and this is one we need to look at, we got some patrol officers that moved to jail, but their post credit will be too high in it right now.
Say that one more time.
Like right now, we may have people that are in there as a 10-year patrol officer that's only got 8. So we're only gonna do the post one direction. That's a question, because it's still gonna change that date if we do it both directions. Kind of the thing we're talking about, you've got a 10-year police officer, you got somebody in jail for 8, they move over, somebody's a
Right.
2-year police officer, but they're the same as the 10.
But they're only posted for 2.
And that
That's
could
what he's
even be,
saying.
that could be anybody. So the thing is, it's still gonna have that same issue with the dates on the start dates.
Yeah, it's just so much cleaner.
It's your start dates is the issue.
Yeah, it
Or the
is.
amount of dates you get counted.
It is, and it's so much.
Table's 5 minutes, you come up with your at right now is no time. It's getting pegged to where you belong because of your years of service. And we have your years of service, we have files that tell when you got promoted, but they're in individual files.
Oh, yeah, and again,
And it's
it's just,
capable of
it's
putting
me
it in the
begging for
system, but
more
it's not put in
time.
there, and we'd have to
Only
have.
had a year's
But,
worth of
yeah,
time.
we're brand new in this new system, we've been there about less than a year. And the new system's
Or
capable
they
of
can
holding
go
this,
for it.
but the old system wasn't. So we've been putting stuff in the new system.
I'm a big fan of doing it the cleanest way possible. And I think the cleanest way is a start date that you already have, right? I mean,
But if you look forward in 10 years, if we did the counting from when they got, post-certified and stuff, then you're gonna have a better product that's actually gonna represent your force.
well, but
But
this,
for now, we've got to hurry.
right, but this is not 100% yes next budget year, right? So
Correct.
we do this on the initial lift and then fine tune it
See
moving
where we're
forward.
at.
And then my other thought is if we put somebody in a PEG 10 for there and we find out they only had 8 post-certified, then you can potentially freeze them there, if they do the stepping or whatever. Or they just got a boost if they don't. Right now, I think if you're wanting to get it out this month, it's the push. If we had another month, it wouldn't be an issue, but.
I know.
So what's the motion again?
The motion is just to count the county years of service toward where you're pegged out on the table. And not call it a salary survey, but call it a table.
So a
We
deliverable,
don't
I
get the
believe is
point.
what we're talking about, is what the deliverable we'll be starting with on Friday, not what we anticipate is our final product, but the deliverable for first thing Friday.
Deliverable Friday, you'll have a table that we've got here kind of consolidated out, years across each section. Then you'll have the people's current salary without the longevity, because what that table would bring them and the cost and the total. That's what we want to get for Friday morning to bring in here. And based on that, we understand that the post or the TCI services won't necessarily be right.
Is there a
And-
second?
And
I
just,
second
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we are still going to be aware of the ARPA.
The ARPA will be in that total.
It'll be in the total, just want to,
We'll keep the ARPA total in there.
we're just
too.
going to make sure that it,
Well, the base we're gonna show now.
I don't want to
includes
create two pieces.
So the base we're showing right now is going to include
The-
the ARPA in there,
Mhm.
but not the longevity. We'll whack it back out.
I'm just saying it
Keep
out
it
loud.
cleaner.
Yeah, just saying it out loud. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that wraps up that. Any other items before?
So one thing, you beat the 345.
Yeah,
Sure did.
move to adjourn.
No.
No.
A motion on the table to
Wait,
recess.
wait.
We're
till-
gonna pull that back. Yeah.
I withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
So you need to do a motion recess until that time and date specific.
Motion to recess to 6 a.m. on Friday. I'll pull that motion back, sorry. Motion to recess to 8 a.m. on Friday.
I'll second. All the in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Try.
Get it done.
Very good. If there's no further business at this time, we'll adjourn. All the in favor?